Hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful day. And this is a very, intense topic for us to be talking about. It's the coronavirus. And that is a very real concern right now. And it's so real that a lot of us have gotten it, including myself. And it shows up for all of us to varying degrees of challenge. And I just recently had it and I got tested, so it's official that I had it. And from talking to the nurses, I probably had it in April, back when they were advising people not to get tested unless there was something really serious going on with ourselves. So this would be at least 2 times of me having the coronavirus and just really looking at how to go about this process of having such a strong disease. And the first time I got it, I was in quarantine for an entire month. That was the time that we were in lockdown. So this is also a disease that spreads really easily, and that's why so many of us have this concern. And when I had it, I was the second time. The first time I had temperature one evening, and then I just felt a little off for quite some time. But this time I was in bed for an entire week with one main task, which was to keep my temperature from going over 104. That was literally just about the only thing I was doing. And it was resting, and it was starting to take some over-the-counter medicines to keep my temperature low. Just following certain tips that they recommend, like taking baths, getting some steam moving in your lungs there. And I didn't eat much. So the body is also becoming weak in a certain sense from not eating tons and not having as much nutrients as normal. And I have an autoimmune disorder, so that makes my body a little bit more sensitive, right? So not everyone necessarily gets that sick, and some people get even more sick. Now, normally, when I start to get sick, I notice as soon as symptoms are coming on, and I have this whole array of natural healing techniques that I do. And if you've been following me on Facebook, you've been catching some of these. And this is actually what I'm putting together in the Embody Vibrant Health online course. So a little plug there, because I'm offering a special Black Friday deal on that course, so I can tell you more about that at the end, but I want to give you some 3 tips that you can work with right now with this. And normally when I start doing those slew of things, it's like I nip any sickness or disease in the bud. I just start to get better from there. And I can feel the difference right away when I'm doing those things. Now, the interesting thing about this time that I was sick was that I was not noticing myself getting better. I mean, who knows how much worse it could have been without doing those things. But the point was that in this situation, I really had to sit there with the sickness. I didn't have an easy way out initially that I could figure out. And then it just becomes, well, how do we deal with this thing that is showing up and is coming for us? And I sat for 3.5 days in all the intense pain throughout my body and my temperature being high without taking any over-the-counter drugs. By the time my temperature got to 103.8, that's when I had to take something because we wanted to keep my temperature below 104. And I did hit a certain point where I was like, enough sitting in pain after 3.5 days. But I still had a few hours kind of at the end there while I was waiting for a friend to bring me some over-the-counter medicines. And as I was sitting there still in the pain and getting sick of the pain, I just sincerely asked myself, what do I want? What do I really, really want in this moment of life? And there were 2 things that popped into mind right away when you break down life to that simple level. And I didn't suspect that I was going to die from what was happening, but I just didn't know what it would take to get better and how much pain I'd go through or if there'd be any longer term damage. So there is that question or that concern out there. And so the real breaking down of in this moment when I really can't do anything, like, what do I want? And the first answer was just stillness. I could just to be present with that moment. That it was okay that my body was in pain. I didn't need to go do anything. I didn't need to take actions in life. I had already intended to be resting that first weekend. So it was kind of funny though. I didn't have any choice. I had to rest. There was nothing else that could come up that weekend. I was okay. And I've had years of living recluse and being a meditator and a yogi and sort of learning the practice of what it's like to be in that emptiness or stillness and being okay with that, right? That's not going to be fine for everyone. So some of you are going to need to fill up space there. For me, what was going on in my body was enough of activity, you could say, because it was so intense and I was feeling and sensing everything that was going on with my body. Now, there were moments that I did do some reading and watched a movie and, I spent a lot of time doing healing practices on myself. I have a phone on my game a game on my phone that I'm a little bit addicted to that I was playing with. I really didn't want to do anything that activated my mind, nothing that could cause any strain or stress. So it was still very important to think about what's going to help me heal while I am doing something. But really breaking down that question, what am I okay with in this moment? I'm okay that my body is in pain and I'm fine just being present and really feeling into the essence of being alive, just how great it is to be alive even if I'm not doing anything. And the second thing that came up for me was I want to connect at the heart with a couple of people who I'm closest with in life. And that was as simple as just feeling it in my heart and sending text messages. I wasn't having phone conversations because I didn't want to expend the energy. And often I was too tired to say more than a couple necessary words to someone. So that first thing is, when you're dealing with not just coronavirus, but any chronic illness that sort of has you down, it has you doing less than what you normally do, but it's to ask yourself, what's really important to me in this moment? What do I really, really need here? And one of the things I'm going to recommend that you need is a positive environment. And this is my second tip. And a lot of times people, they're not going to know how intense something is for you and kind of what you need that could be nurturing. They also, with the coronavirus, it's such a sensitive topic, right? People can start going into fear. It's like telling somebody you have cancer, right? People often just assume you're going to die. So it's really being careful, like, for me, who I was telling, so that they wouldn't be nervous or stressed out. Maybe some people would start giving me a guilt trip because I've left my apartment and was potentially exposing myself to the disease. And that wasn't going to help me feel well either during that time. I did cut out a couple friends, like I set boundaries. I even blocked a couple people because when you're that sick, you really want things to be positive. What's interesting though is why not always have things be positive in your environment? Like, why does it take getting that sick to realize that you're not going to tolerate behavior that doesn't feel supportive and kind? Why not treat yourself that nourishing all the time? And so for me, it was telling the minimal people that needed to know, people who I came across, so that they knew that I might have had it when I was with them and they can respond as they want to, and just a couple people who would help support me and bring me things. I didn't need much because I wasn't doing much. But that was really it. So even a lot of my closer friends, I didn't tell them until I felt better. Because what we want to do is make sure that the people who we're communicating with are going to support us and not need to take from us. during that time. And so just really consider what your personal liberties are when something comes up and who you really need to be telling what is going on. Right now, there's other people who blast it on social media and they love having that much support and conversation around it. So you get to decide what's going to be right for you, but definitely make sure that you're setting yourself up for a positive environment. The last thing I'm going to say is the concept of don't just go to the finish line, but go through the finish line. And I've been through so many personal development trainings. This has been one of my favorite tips that they've given. And literally when you're doing a board break, you can't stop at the board, at the finish line. You have to go through it. When you're doing a fire walk, because it seems so scary and there's such a risk, or like a glass walk, is to consider the excitement of what it's going to feel like to finish and what prize is coming at the end of that. And here's the thing, because I mentioned that I really chose to just be present in the moment. So I wasn't sitting there necessarily planning my future. And I'm pretty clear in general of what I'm doing in life and what's important to me. So I didn't need to go through that assessment. Some people do. They really question what's important to them in life. I just talked to a friend on the phone yesterday who had a more serious case of coronavirus than me, where he did potentially face death. And that made him question, well, what is the purpose of my life? But going forward, that's the question of what's through the finish line, not just to the finish line. And when I canceled my appointments, I rescheduled them right away. So I didn't just cancel them and not think there's anything in life beyond that. I maintained the perspective that there is something beyond that. So really consider that, what am I living for? And a lot of you have heard me talk about this in the term reason to live, right? This is one of the top tips that I've heard from all the health and healing interviews that I've done with these professionals who have healed themselves or others from terminal diagnoses. Because each of those people who healed when it was unexpected had something to live for. There was like something beyond that, something amazing for them. And that's a piece that we're going to want to consider as well, as to what is there beyond that. When I had health challenges when I was younger, and I was, very much out of it in the sense of having a fever for 2 months, having fatigue, having issues with my muscles turning to fat, and having trouble seeing and thinking and speaking, articulating as a teacher. But something in me knew that I had a future. Where I would be speaking, where I would be helping people on much broader scales. So there was a driver there that took me through the finish line. There was a driver there that helped me research and experiment with different things that could help with the healing, so that I could bring myself to this stasis of being able to do so much in life, of traveling the world, of hiking up 14ers, all those backpacking trips that I did last summer. Those are the things that we want for ourselves. What is your driver? Is it seeing your kids grow up, having time with your grandkids? I mean, the funniest one was a woman who wanted to finish watching a soap opera series. So it really doesn't matter what you choose that driver to be, but what is through the finish line for you? And go ahead and write in the comments on the video, what is the driver for you? What's through the finish line for you? What makes you want to live? I want to throw in this tip as well. During this time when a lot of us are in lockdown and a lot of the things we normally do that bring us joy are not happening, that bring us livelihood are not happening. And this is something around the world. And I've noticed for myself these moments of just depression or sadness, like what's the point of living if I can't go play and dance and do all those things? And I was just talking to a client as well who it's different things that he's interested in than me, but he doesn't have those right now. A sense of competition is one of them. Groups where you do athletic things together, right? The group that we used to be involved with is canceled. Like it's closed, shut down. We don't have that anymore. And during this time, it's not like something new has been created to fill that hole. And we're used to also life in a certain sense being handed to us on a silver platter of these things that we normally love to do. And right now it's not being handed to us on a silver platter. And what I'm going to encourage you to do then is to take that extra step. You're used to doing all these things in the community and just running into your acquaintances. So now you have to take that extra step of reaching out and contacting people. Of getting creative. I started to look into, well, what can I do in the winter in Denver? Well, I can go hiking on the nicer days. I'm a fair weather person, so you're not going to see me out in a blizzard by choice. There's some outdoor events happening, like there's the Parade of Lights. It's being done a little bit differently this year so that everyone can be safe. And there's a light show at the Botanic Gardens and the zoo. And then you can go to an escape room with like a small group of people. You can rent that with your own private group. So there's things that we can do that are still safe. But it just takes a little bit extra effort and research. But you want to think about what is that driver, because that's what's going to keep you healthier. And this is why we were talking about the immune boosting right now, because we are heading into that time of year with the holidays and also the winter, where a lot of us, well, for those of you who have winter right now, right, you might be on the other side of the world. But where it is winter, you're probably getting less sunshine. Which means that you don't have as much natural vitamin D, you don't have as easily fighting things that are showing up in your body. And you may be having more alcohol and more starches and more sugars, which also affect your body's ability to have a strong immune system. You might not be exercising as much, partially because we're in lockdown and partially because things get canceled around the holiday time. And all of those things build into a weaker immune system. So what are you going to do to keep yourself strong, to supercharge your immune system? And that's also why I'm giving this special Black Friday deal for my Embody Vibrant Health online course. And what you'll notice here is that we're not just talking about the physical layer of our bodies and how we handle it, but we're talking about the energetic, the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual layers. And all of those layers go into this course. And these are things that you can do on your own in sometimes just a few seconds to open the space for these quick shifts in your energy, in your joy level. And the idea is that these are tips. Remember, I've spoken to a lot of doctors through the research that I've done. And so it's also combining the tips that they've given in order for us to have the strongest immune system. And the intention is that you rejuvenate your body and mind, that you can relax more consciously and deeply, that you can increase your magnetism, and that you can feel more sustaining energy throughout your day. So I will tell you this, the deal goes through Monday. And what is the deal? Because this course, it's a pretty comprehensive course. It's going to be spread out over time as I launch the videos so that it's realistic to integrate and explore different things within your daily life. And the idea is that you take the investment of a few seconds so that you have more energy. And think of when you have more energy, what are all of the other things that you could do with that you can have more time to be playing with your kids or your family members, that you could have more time to apply to your business, that you can more easily come up with these creative ideas to make life more exciting. So normally this course is $597. And because of what's going on in the world right now, and I'm going to make this special Black Friday, so it's $97 through Monday. That's $500 off. So it's over 80% discount on the program. I don't know if I will ever offer it this inexpensive in the future. So it's definitely a good time to grab this deal and figure out what you can do to boost your immune system, your energy, your livelihood, your glowing health and vitality is our goal here. You can go to healinghappens.biz to find out information, more information about this program, and then of course take advantage of the deal. And when you go to that website, it'll automatically put the discount in for you. Let me know if you guys have questions, and I just hope that you have a wonderful day and that you stay in this place of supercharging your immune system, and when faced with challenge and having to sit with it, to ask yourself, what's most important to me right now? How do I keep my environment positive so it really is supportive and productive of healing? And what is beyond the finish line for me? What is your reason to live? All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your day.